Hello everybody, welcome back to FDE. So this was a fun weekend. This was the KC Raceway Boogieman race, which was a money race and then another money race on top of a points race. So it was a busy weekend to say the least. So what was interesting about this weekend though is that not only did we race our normal treads for points, but we also had the opportunity to race the Predator Slicks. And a huge shout out to Ashton and the Taylor family for letting me do this. It was great that they lent us a set of slicks to run with the class. I had a lot of fun, had a blast, but if there's one thing that always kept me away from dirt, it was exactly what we had to do that day, and it was prepping the tires, and then prepping the tires, and then cleaning the tires, and then prepping, and then prepping some more, and cleaning, and then I think we did some more prepping, and oh my gosh, did I mention how much prepping we had to do? Man, if there's one thing that just tore me away from dirt racing before I got back into it, it was the tire prep. And I am so glad I run the treaded class. That is a non-prep, show up, whatever dirt is on it is the dirt you race with kind of class. It was still a fun time. You know, we were constantly back and forth between swapping tires and swapping gears. It just kept us busy for the whole day. First things first is I want to apologize to you guys with this episode. So with the camera set up, normally like you're seeing it now, I have it set as a certain profile so that it's not, you know, the fisheye effect and wide lens and all these special features, night mode, stabilization, all that. It's a point of view mode, how I record, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, I forgot to switch it over from this basically point of field view to the racing profile setup, which was, you know, the wide with image stabilization and all that good stuff. So I apologize because this footage is very shaky. And if anybody has ever considered getting an action camera with any sort of image stabilization, this is the episode to compare to other ones to see how much of a difference it makes. It is a night and day huge difference when it comes to viewing these things. So like I said, they're shaky, but they're there. With this weekend came a different style of racing. So normally you would do practice, heat, and feature. But with it being a money race, the way they did it is they did a heat for the points race and a feature for the points race, and then did individual qualifying for both the 50-50 payback and the Boogieman, as well as a feature for the 50-50 and the Boogieman. So I'm not going to show all the footage, and I didn't record everything. The only thing I'm really going to show is 3 races, one being the only real action, I would say, race for the treads. I was lucky enough to get good positioning and got out front, and it was kind of a boring race to watch from first person view. We don't have any picture-in-picture videos, but we still have the GoPro footage. So there will be one of the treads, and then the 50-50 feature, as well as the Boogieman feature. Huge shout out to Spencer, my buddy, helped me along. You know, he came out just expecting to do the one class, and when we talked about doing this, it went from what would have been an easy day to a very action-packed back and forth, constantly changing stuff, constantly doing stuff, even working on the body after one of the races. So huge shout out to Spencer for sticking around and helping me out with that. Otherwise, I would not have been able to do this on my own. But overall, the way the night went is that I ended up getting first in the tread class, getting fourth in the 50-50, and then getting fourth in the Boogieman. Something very interesting though I wanted to say is that I reviewed the times of my tread class, and I reviewed the fastest times of I think it was the Boogieman is when I had the fastest times. And I'm going to show you this. And what's very interesting to me is I was just as fast on a non-prepped, dirty tread tire as I was on a prepped, slicked racing tire. And to say anything about that, I don't know if maybe I'm just as slow running the slicks as I am the treads, or just more comfortable in the treads. You can see in the numbers with the slicks that my RPM drops are a little bit erratic. You could tell I wasn't totally comfortable with the tires yet, and it took me a little bit to figure out. But if you'll look at the tread numbers, you'll notice that my RPM drops are great, as I'm more used to that and what the kart's going to do. And so I found that kind of interesting that the treads, for me at least, are just as fast as running slicks. But I have to do literally a quarter of the work that they have to do, and I don't spend near as much money buying tires and tires and tires. So if that's not a promotion for running treads, I don't know what is. So either way, let's get into it. The treads feature race was, from your perspective watching it, a boring race overall, but to me it was a good time to continue to practice, to try to get better and better, faster and faster, try to find those right lines. Luckily, I was fast that night. We swapped out the spindle, reset the kart up, and like I said in the previous episode, it runs great. It's a lot more responsive now. The kart overall is just, it's a great kart. So I'm very happy with it. Not much to say about it. Again, apologize for the shaky video. It's how it's going to be the whole episode. I'm sorry. I'll try to make sure to swap over the profile in the next race. Ended up taking first, so take a look. So with the first money race, the 50-50, it was my first time really running with a pack of slicks. It's not my first time ever. When I ran back in Talladega down the south, you know, we run Maxxis ELs, but these are different compounds. These were Maxxis Blues and Pinks, which definitely were a stickier compound. So it was fun to go back to running Maxxis's again, obviously, but if there's anything I learned about slicks that the treads have an advantage of, is that With the treads, I've learned that even if you get a little bit outside of the line and a little bit on the marbles, because they're treads, they will hold better and not just lose their traction. But I learned the hard way early on that with these slicks, if you get just a little bit outside and just get a little bit of dust under those tires, like you're gonna have to really crank it, but that cart just slides. Those tires just don't hold. And if you're not in the line, man, it happened to me in the 50-50 on basically the last or second to last lap. I got a little bit in the loose stuff and that car just four-wheel drifted, and I could have had second, and because the cart four-wheel drifted on me, I didn't hit the apex right. Two carts got in from under me, two of which I were faster than, I can say that, and I ended up getting fourth. Funny side note, before the race, they blew off some fireworks and it was really neat. And then while we were racing, I don't know if the second half of the fireworks didn't go off or somebody pre-lit the other fireworks first, but we're racing, I come out of two, and all of a sudden I'm seeing fireworks going everywhere, and they're on the track, and we're driving through the fireworks. I'm thinking to myself, I was like, is this for real? Is this like a show? Are we really doing this? And they threw the caution. It wasn't supposed to happen, obviously, but kind of a funny little weird thing to happen, you know, honestly. If anything, I never thought I'd be dodging fireworks, of all things racing. On a side note, during the race, it was the last lap. Ashton, I think, spun the person out in front of him, and I was right behind them, and we came to a dead stop. And what that did is we hit so hard that the whole front plastic shifted backwards on the frame. And what that did is the bottom skirt on the front plastic actually placed itself just under my tires. And what was going on was I was driving the last lap or second lap, and not only was I loose because I got in the marbles, the tires were half running on plastic fender and half touching dirt. So I literally had barely any traction, and when I was turning, the plastics were bumped back and they were rubbing on the tire. So I had brakes going against me in the front. I had half traction, if that, because the body had shifted back. And when it shifts back, it also binds the Nerf bars up, so the body is sitting a little bit TP'd, which binds the cart up more. So I had everything going against me on that second to last lap. Thankfully, that was it. A few more laps, I definitely think I could have got third, absolutely. But something else that I noticed on that race, as well as the Boogieman, was my times. Not so much my times, but my RPMs. I was only hitting like 4,800 RPMs, and I tried to get to 5 grand or just under 5,100. I could have been faster, I just didn't gear it right. So I definitely left speed out on the table. I could have definitely maybe been a lot more competitive, and my times would have been quicker, but I wasn't geared right. So that was unfortunate. But to finish how we did, regardless, all things considered, I think we did awesome. And it was absolutely fantastic to run it. So take a look. This is the 50-50. I think it was only top 3 got paid out. Unfortunately, of course, I get, you know, first non-pay, first loser. Yay. But either way, take a look. This is the 50-50. So as far as the Boogieman goes, right out of the gate, there was something that kind of irked me wrong a little bit. And I don't know the cart that started outside of me. I started third, and the cart outside of me, I noticed that as we were coming around the corner, we were tightening up, buttoning up, getting ready to take off. He kept poking his front in on mine, and he kept turning hard left in on me. I understand what he was doing. He was trying to bind the cart up, and not only that, but he was trying to get me down into the pucks. And right out of the gate, trying to make a move before the green flag even dropped. So I, being me, I'm having to turn left back to push into his cart. And to me, it's unprofessional to do that. If right out of the gate, the first thing your intent is to do is to force somebody to have a bad start just so you can have an advantage, as a racer, that's just uncalled for and unsportsmanlike in my opinion. But either way, the Boogieman was a really, really fun race. I mean, it was an intense race for sure. I gotta say, I honestly believe that I was definitely third best, possibly second if I could have had a chance. I could never get the blue cart, I think it was blue up front. I just never could get a chance at it because of all the chaos that was going on. But I do believe that I most likely could have been the number 2 cart. Unfortunately, I didn't get it. We were fast that night, absolutely, even on the slicks, and it was an absolute blast. One other thing that I just remembered that kind of made the race interesting, but definitely caught a lot of people off guard, I think, is that in turn 1 and 2, they moved the middle puck out, and disproportionately so that we were no longer really working with a straight arc around the corner, but it was more of you had to come in, jack the cart just right to get it to come out of 2. That threw a lot of racers off, I think. Luckily, though, they did this during my Predator race, so I already had an idea and a heads up of what was coming. So luckily, I had a little bit of an advantage knowing what I needed to do. Whereas I think it caught a lot of racers off guard when they came in on 1 and then realized, oh shoot, this jacking effect has to happen. I think I was able to take advantage of that and could have made more progression, but because of the way the race went and everything, it is what it is. Like I said, the gearing was not right. So on the restarts, I was always getting screwed basically because the motor was bogged down. The gearing was set for speed, not for acceleration. So I never really had a shot at the jump, unfortunately. But all things considered, it was a really, really fun race. I am super happy I got to be a part of it. Again, Ashton, your family, your dad, everybody for helping me out. Thank you. Spencer, for being there and going back and forth with this. Thank you. I think Spencer and I both got an insight of what it would be like to do a slicks class every week. And I gotta say, I think I prefer the treads. Absolutely prefer the treads. Especially looking at the numbers. If the treads were just as fast as the slicks, even within 2 tenths, even if you were to take 3 tenths out of the overall times, I honestly don't know if going to slicks would be even worth it, in my opinion. Save the money, use it on treads that you don't have to prep, that you don't have to clean, besides after the races, for the next week, and you don't need 10, 15 different sets of tires, it seems like. So overall, it was super fun. Super fun. I'm so glad we got to run this slicks class. I'm so sorry about the shaky video. It's annoying to me. I apologize that you have to see it as shaky as it is compared to previous episodes. But again, if this isn't a great promoter for why you get a camera with some sort of image stabilization, I don't know what it is, but the image stabilization helps out a lot. So thanks for coming along. We're continuing to get better. We're going to move forward. I think we only got 3 races left. So we're getting there. We're getting towards the end, but we're going to keep going forward, keep moving, and try to keep getting fast. So see you guys.